So, welcome to our second episode of Outcloseted Africa, where we center queer voices, stories, and lived experiences across African communities. Today, I'm joined by a friend from Malawi, and together we'll reflect on what it means to raise and nurture children as queer parents or guardians in contexts that do not always recognize us, but also will continue to dive into a very tender yet powerful topic on queer parenting in general in Africa. But before we get right into it, I'm going to ask our guests to tell us a bit about themselves. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Bajuma. I'm from Malawi. I am queer, of course. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a business person. I'm a parent. I have 5 children, 4 of my own, 1 adopted. I've got a fiance. What else? I think that's it.
Wow.
Am I missing?
We are happy to have you here, really. So
Thank you.
the conversation is going to be as free and interesting as possible. Feel free to say everything and anything you want us to know or the listeners to know. I believe our audience is very friendly, and for those that are not, they're just trying to navigate a world of people they seem not to understand but are trying to understand. And our very first question will be, what does queer parenting mean to you, and how does that personally define your experiences?
Queer parenting, being a queer parent is just like any other parent, I should say. We are trying to raise kids that would turn out right, like any other parent wishes for their children. I'm praying and hoping I'm raising champions, teaching them the right manners, teaching them to be good people, kind, loving, work hard in school. And I think the only difference is my sexuality, but otherwise I'm just any other parent. I still tell my children to do right, reprimand them, praise them when they're doing right. Maybe there's more freedom of speech in my house. There's a lot more communication, probably less more than it would be in, I should say. There's more communication than it would be in like a normal heterosexual home, because I try to leave the communication channels very open with my children.
Yeah.
Because they also understand my sexuality, and we tend to have a lot more conversation about everything. So I guess we're more just like any other parent, wishing and hoping for the best for their children.
Yeah. So for me, queer parenting is basically about love, and I continuously say it is love that is being refused, or that refuses to be limited by the boxes that society has created. Most of the time, as queer parents, we are defined, or guardians, we are defined by how society defines love, or who we are supposed to love. But for me, it is not who I love, but rather how I love. It's about raising children in ways that affirm diversity, that resist oppression, that validate their identities, whether they turn out queer or not. And existing in a country like Uganda, queer parenting is literally resistance, or an act of resistance, because we live in a society where the laws themselves that we exist with, or that we work with, are laws that do not allow us, given our sexuality, to even parent or take on the role of parenting or nurturing children. So it is just, for me, it remains proof that people can nurture, queer people can nurture children. We can provide and build safe homes in the face of stigma, but also in a world that says we possibly cannot. So for me, it is everything in between and outside of those boxes. Our second question is, can you walk us through your journey of becoming a parent? Did your queer identity shape that experience in any specific way, particularly?
I wouldn't really say. Maybe it has, but I'm not very sure, because for me, I'm just being that normal parent, I should say. But also the difference between me and other queer parents is that I was married first. I was actually married to a man, and I had my 4 kids. I was put into a marriage at a young age, also because of my sexuality, because where I'm from, being queer is a taboo, and they think putting somebody in a marriage will actually correct them, which of course obviously didn't work out. Of course, at some point I walked out of that marriage and decided to stay true to myself. As I grew older, say, you know what, this is not me. I still choose my path, and became that parent who now is a queer parent, having a partner of the same gender. And I don't think anything has changed much. I'm still the same parent, loving my children the same way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where the only difference would be with other queer parents who have only like who have their fellow queer partner and having children together. Yeah. Whilst I was first married to a man and had kids, and then I moved on from that. Now have my own partner of the same gender and still raising my children. So not much has changed. I'm still the same parent, I can say. Just the sexuality to them, but to me it hasn't changed, because I've always been that way.
Yeah. You'll be shocked, there are so many queer parents today that have been through the same experiences. I have friends within the community.
Hello, are you there?
Oh, I think, just give me a second. I am there, but I don't know what's happening. Oh, I had muted the mic. Sorry. So I was saying earlier that you'll be shocked that there are a number of queer parents in the community, or members in the community, that have been through the same experience for one reason or another. So they have been married before, and now they are living their authentic lives, or their authentic self. My journey into parenting wasn't a straightforward one. I would say I haven't given birth yet myself. However, me and my partner hope that changes in future, really. My parenting journey, I would say, started 7 years ago, when I made a bold choice to open up my home to a boy that was abandoned by his biological parents, who is now my son. Later, when my partner and I became guardians to the siblings' children, our queerness, I would say, is very silent. I call it in quotes a silent question mark, because the children are a bit young, and so we don't talk about it. They don't understand anything about sexuality. We feel it's still too early for us to put them in the chaos that comes with it, not because it is chaotic, but because the world in which we currently exist, or the country in which we live, does not allow for us to expose them to that kind of lifestyle yet. But of course, when the time is right, we are confident we'll have that conversation and allow them to make the choice of what they want to become around us, or whether or not we get to stay in their lives. That is also a choice we need to allow the children to make. But each day what we do is show that queer people can build homes where love, discipline, and care can flourish, basically, because we love the kids to the brim, literally. But also the fact that in Uganda, being openly queer can put your caregiving role under question, and this can go as far as losing custody of the children. So because of the Anti-Homosexuality Act in place, basically we tread carefully, and I would say we try as often as possible to live like relatives, for lack of a better word. But that is not because we are not proud of who we are, but most especially because the country in which we live in and the laws in place do not allow us to be parents openly, at the same time queer. Basically that. When you think of the word family, what comes to your mind, and how does your queer identity influence that picture?
For me, when I think of the word family, I think of home. I think of my mom's house. I think of my siblings. That togetherness. And also, because for a long time I lived outside of Malawi and I didn't have any family around me, I had friends who became like family, I should say. So family is togetherness. Family is people whom I feel safe with, people whom I feel loved with, where I'm welcomed, I should say. So number one is home. Number two is that there's those friends that feel safe, I should say.
Okay. That's a beautiful way to define family. My take on family, every time I think about it, is creation and choice. I say this because I find myself that the family I hold so dear to my heart is one that I have chosen as my own, but also created and not just biological. Because, take an example, the kids, none of them is biologically mine, but I would kill to make sure that they are happy, So for me, every time I think of family, my identity as a queer person expands my vision or how I define it. So for me, it is just a support system that is made up of friends, community, different people. Say, take an example of activists who just step in like siblings and aunties and uncles, because I find myself most of the time that when I have an issue, before I run to my family, my biological family, the first people I'll reach out to will be friends or community members or, people I work with, because these are the people that I have created as my family and who get to experience my life without the blurry shades of what I create for people who don't know about my sexuality. Take an example. Today, my family is just made up of the commitment I have, the love, and it's not just blood. It is a typical patchwork quilt stitched together by choices I continuously make, circumstances that bring us and bond us further together, but also resilience. Every time I think about my sexuality and the choices I constantly have to make about who I identify as family or who happens to be in my circle of family, in most cases, it is not just the people I was born to, and it is not just the people I was born with. And in most cases, the people I was born with, I will give a scenario. I remember when I was still, back then when I was still in school, me and my brother happened to like the same girl, And this is stupid. So, of course, the girl was my friend first. And I introduced her to my brother. And I didn't even like them in that way of, that sexual way. I like them more as a friend than I like them in any other way. But the imagination for my brother to think that that person was having an attraction to me, and the level of anger I saw in his eyes, and us fighting to the extent that he almost threw me off a building just over a woman. Can you imagine? So putting myself in that position got me thinking, would this boy, if it was a matter of a girl and you, but I understand where he came from because he is a homophobic person. And so it is the disgust that he could not stand, me being that person, And so for him, it would break all other laws. And so the argument, and thank God there were people there. And how it went, the rest is history. And I've even gone past the anger bit, because then it made me second guess my choice of when you come out to these people, will they even still want you in their circle as one of them, So for me, it is not just the people I was born with or born to. It is who shows up for me, who stays, and who chooses to build life with me. Because at the end of the day is when everyone else says they cannot tolerate me because of my sexuality, I still believe my partner will stand with me. And the children we will have or will have raised will still look at me as just mommy and not what I identify as or who I am in terms of my sexuality. So we go to our next question. How do you talk to your children about your queer identity? And how do you answer questions they might have about family structure?
Because I was after I left the marriage, I didn't have anyone coming home, so I had found someone whom I had to introduce to them, and I eventually had to speak to them to say, "Well, guys, I am queer," and my kids were like, "We knew." Apparently, they had made a bet on me to say that, you know what, Mom was gay. Yeah, because I never brought anybody home. I never brought a man home to say, "Oh, my boyfriend," or never talked about any man. So I think this also maybe the way I dressed, and also they had a background where we didn't live in Malawi when they were young. They were born outside the country, so they had friends who had 2 mommies, 2 dads. So for them, it wasn't like anything weird or strange when I came up to them. They were like, "Oh, we knew, we knew." So for them, the respect is still the same.
Yeah.
I'm still mom. I had a girlfriend who's still my girlfriend now, but at some point we broke up. But they called her mom. Still, yeah, like those are the friends. Oh, my stepmom got me this. My stepmom got me that. So it's mom and mom. There's no like, oh, so this one is a dad. This one's a no. We are all just moms. So yeah.
Yeah, so just like you, we are also just mommy this, mommy that. They just add our names to it, surprisingly. So my end, we have not had that conversation yet, really, because the children are still young, except for the boy, who is trying to emancipate, because he's about 18 now. So he's trying to emancipate. We will have that conversation when he's ready. But if I was given an opportunity and they asked me right now about my sexuality, my queer identity, I would just tell them I love differently and it's okay for me too. And of course, I would remind them that they are surrounded by love, and that is what should be the most important part for them. And to sugarcoat the cake, for lack of a better word, I would conclude by just explaining the different forms in which families can exist. So we'd give examples of families with 2 moms, families with just 1 parent, families with just grandparents as present, and those with just 2 dads. And of course, try to help them understand and encourage them to keep their mind open to whichever form in which the family may exist, as long as they get to feel loved, they get to feel safe, and they get to feel protected. And that should be what should be important for them every time they think of family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is basically what I'll do. Yeah.
Because here in Malawi, being queer is a taboo. I just don't live with my children only. I have the house help. So even though I am comfortable around my children knowing my sexuality, it's not like I'm openly affectionate with my partner in front of them.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Yeah, there's not that much of exposure in those terms. It's just maybe the most they'll hear is babe, this, babe, that. But nothing else that will say, okay, but we have seen them being affectionate, we've seen them being intimate. No, nothing like that.
True.
Yeah.
And that applies to most of our households, including mine. The most they can say is that. So when they call you, I remember at some point, my son, when he was much younger, when my partner would call, he would say, Han has called you. And I'm like, seriously? This guy cannot say, Mommy, this has called you. He has to state the word. Anyway, so for me, that is basically what happens. Most of us, of course, because we live with house helps and other relatives, once in a while, you feel you need to make those boundaries so that there are no red flags, but also living in the existence of the fear that what happens if, say, the parents of the kids get to know about your sexuality. Will they still want you to associate with their kids? Will they allow you to still be that mommy that you used to be? But also the bond you have built over the years. It is scary for myself every time when I think about it. I'm like, okay, when the parents get to know, will I still be as valuable as I am now, or will they still want their children to hang around us? It's a question we keep pondering around and thinking in and out, and we have not come with any answers. If there are any, please feel free to share. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there for now. So, what are some of the values that are most important to you when raising your children, and how do you incorporate your queer identity into these values?
For me, it's love and kindness. I am also a Christian, and I believe in love. You have to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yes, you have to treat others with respect.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I teach them. Like, you can't say you love someone when you don't love yourself. So first, the love has to come from here. And it's also a charity that begins at home.
Yeah.
We need to be kind to each other here at home. We need to show love to each other here at home.
Yeah.
You can't go outside and say you love your friend, but at home you're fighting with people. So for me, it's let's be respectful, let's be kind, let's love each other. So I am much more focused on love, because I feel love conquers everything.
Yeah.
And me being queer, I think also teaches them to be more acceptance with others, because like my daughter had a queer friend come over at the time. She even slept here, and I made jokes with them like, but I asked the friend like, what are your pronouns? And then he was like, it's he, him. I was like, then you're a boy, you sleep somewhere else, you need to sleep in the different room.
Yeah.
And the girls were like, but she's just a girl. I was like, I know she's a girl, but she says she's a boy, just like, making fun, like having fun.
Yeah.
Because this girl, I should say boy, is just exactly like me. She's masculine presenting. And my daughter said, I'm friends with her because at school people were making fun of her to say she's gay, and they didn't want to be associated with her. So I'm friends with her because I know she's like you. So, that says a lot, to say there's love. They're learning how to love without boundaries, to love without judging others on how they look like, how they dress like. So, yeah.
Yeah. For me, like you said, love, kindness, respect, and honesty. My identity keeps me mindful of creating a home that is very inclusive, but also safe and affirming, not just for my kids or the children, but also for any other people that may come into our space. But also living as a queer person in a country that is very oppressive and very homophobic has taught me so much, that there is strength in finding, or strength in difference. And because of constantly living in isolation, having to live in scrutiny and discrimination, I find myself that one of the important lessons I have to pass to my children is celebrating uniqueness rather than conformity. I constantly tell them, every time something is isolated or separated, it is because it holds something more beautiful than the ones that are commonly seen by all the rest. So I always encourage them to make friends, even while at school, with the people that are being isolated, because that person could be them, that person could be their sister, that person could be their brother, and I want them to always separate themselves from the team that is being non-inclusive, but rather to be more inclusive. And so for me, one of my biggest values is compassion and empathy, because I'm trying to raise them to be more compassionate and always put themselves in other people's shoes and respect humanity in all its diversity. And I prioritize this because growing in a world now where I find all the people I studied with, 100%, of 100 you'll find like only 20 or 10 are still my friends now. And I find myself, I find it very difficult as a person to just walk into, these old girls, old boys get-togethers. Like, I just can't walk into the space because I'm more worried of how are they going to look at me, what are they going to say about me, but also because for some I'm already out there and they know about my sexuality, and how will they treat me being in their space, because they will not look at me as one of them. So it's always a big deal for me because of the too much discrimination and isolation. I try to make sure that in their minds they understand the importance of being very inclusive, but also looking out and extending people that are being pushed away closer to them. So I always encourage them to extend care to those that need it, not just as and when they think that people need it, but even in times when they don't think the other person needs it because the other person did not ask. So for me, that's a very big deal for me. So this one is a good one. Do you have any funny and memorable parenting stories that you'd like to share that can help humanize the experience of queer parenting for someone that is listening that knows nothing about queer parenting, or for someone preparing to be a queer parent and is worried about how that will turn out, but also for someone that wants to understand queer parenting in general?
Okay, at the end I've understood, but at the beginning, do I have what?
Any funny or memorable parenting stories? In my house there's so much fun. Anyway, Give me your best. The most memorable.
But maybe I should say when I'm leaving the house, I have fashion police checking out my outfits.
Okay.
And they understand mom is masculine, and they'll be like, no, I don't like that shirt, ma. That shirt is not giving. Go and wear something else. Different shirt. And me going to the kids' school, I don't think it's funny, but for me it was like one of those, oh, my little daughter going to her school for a teacher-parent meeting. I was like, do you want me to find a dress I can wear to go to your school? She was like, no, mom, I want you to come like that. Come as you are. You know? And for me, that was like an all moment to say, you know what, she accepts me fully and she doesn't care how other kids will react about her mom looking masculine and dressing masculine, you know. We went to the school and she was like, no, sit next to me. I was like, you can go sit with the other kids. She was like, no, I'm going to sit next to you. We'll sit together. And she was like, you know, everyone was looking at me because everyone thinks you're a cool mom. So for me, it's just like, wow. And she's only 9 years old. And for me to be accepted in that sense is just like amazing.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah.
It's beautiful how kids keep things very simple, and as adults, we are complicating each and everything. Mm-hmm. Life is complicated as it is, but we keep on looking for ways to overcomplicate it as well. Mm-hmm. Well, mine is I'm still trying to define whether I'm a boy or a girl for my 7-year-old daughter, who sometime asked me if I am a boy or a girl. I'm still working on a definition, but for now we are just dealing with the simple definition of I'm a human being. However, once in a while, my mother-in-law always makes jokes by calling me her son. So when I do something good, she's like, this is my good boy, and it makes me feel, you know, excited. It gives me that adrenaline that is that pumps in every angle of my system. But anyway, most of the time it's just celebrating love and joy with the kids and the simplicity with which they see everything, the love they share, the love they pour out. Each of those is memorable for me. Like, I hold it so dear at heart that even when they visit and they're away from home, I come back home, and because there is no one to say welcome back, mommy, you know, I just feel like the house is boring. These human beings need to be back here, you know. And sometimes, of course, you know, like any child, they drive me crazy. Trust me, I reach a time and I'm like, I just need a quiet house. And even at that time when I need a quiet house, they will still come, give me hugs, tell me they love me, and confuse me to make me conform to a noisy house, you know. But what to do, I still love them anyway. Yeah, so all the memories we have are beautiful and fun in their own way. We make our own jokes. Most recently, we are looking for the best dancer in the house. Can you imagine? And,
oh, wow.
Geez, you will die if you watch the dancing movies. The videos will drive you crazy. If you're the one on the panel, you'd say this family needs God now at this rate.
I remember something. So because I adopted like a 1 year, 4 months, 1 year. Now she's like going to 1 year, 6 months. Always seen me in my masculine clothes, never seen me dressing and all that. So there was a day when I was rushing to work and everybody's giving me the reports, whatever they need, and I'm dressing. All the kids are there. And my new baby, because now I'm taking off my towel to wear my sports bra, and she's looking at me like a little bit confused, like, oh, so you, she was just like glued to me, looking at me, and my big daughters are like, oh my God, Mom, you just confused her. She's like, what? I thought you was a man. So yeah, it was just like one of those, like, oh, so Mama is actually Mama. Like, Mama has put boobs, because usually I'm in a shirt and she doesn't see them. So but this day she was like looking at me like, oh, she's a girl. She was quite like, she had this face on her, and the girls were making fun of her, like, you're confusing the poor child. And I'm like, guys, yeah.
They will.
So I'm sure there'll also be questions like that from her very soon. Like, Mom, are you a boy? Are you a girl? But for now, I'm Mom and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's good to enjoy the good times when they are still little, before the world complicates their understanding.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to any queer individuals or couples who are thinking about becoming parents or guardians but don't know where to start?
I would say be yourself. Be yourself, because your sexual orientation, your sexual identity doesn't define you as a human being, I should say. First and foremost, despite you being a queer parent or whatever, as a mother, you love the child, and that's what's very, very, very important. And that's the only thing your child needs. Your love. So be yourself. Be your authentic true self. Your child is going to love you anyway.
Yeah.
I
think for me, I would... Wow, this is a tough one actually. I have not thought about this. So if I were to tell anyone who wants to start parenting, first of all, I would tell them not to wait for a perfect setup. Sometimes I sit down and I ask myself, should I have become a parent way sooner? But then I'm like, maybe if I had my own, I would not enjoy the memories I'm building with the ones I have now,
That's true.
But also, most of us, I have friends who have given up on parenting, and this could go to them because most of us wait for a perfect setup. But I believe my experience in parenting is we just grow into parenting, because who knew that after all this time I would have people calling me mommy and driving me crazy at the end of the day. But also remind them that when it comes to parenting, it is about showing up each and every day the best way we know how to, or the best way we can, and not perfection. The world has pushed us to believing in our sexuality makes us imperfect for parenting, and so I would need them to understand that does not match the box in which we are trying to tick. If you want to be a parent, go for it. Why not? And like you said, you just need to start with love, because that is all the kids need. Like, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need stability. All the children need is stability. So you don't need to try to live, live like a perfectionist, for lack of a better word. All children need is stability, kindness, but most of all, presence. At the end of the day, if I am a parent and not present, they will still not attach or feel wanted or feel loved, or exist in a world that sets for them a path where they can walk freely, error, fall, get up, and showing up or being present means I get to hold them every time they drop. I get to deal with the tantrums as they come. I get to deal with the crazy as it comes, but I also get to celebrate the happiness and the joys. And we always set these boundaries with my partner for how to perform at school, not because of how they should perform. But take an example. Our daughter of 7 has a boy that has been leading the class, and so every time she works hard so that she beats the boy, because she, in her mind, she knows there is nothing boys do that she cannot do. And the other thing is, I would advise them to find a supportive community, because living in a country like Uganda, being queer and then adding parenting, can make you feel like you're in a box and enclosed in it and it's suffocating you.
Yeah.
And so having a supportive community of like-minded people, of queer people, would become like your safety net, you know? You no longer get to feel isolated, but also when you're feeling isolated, you have this team of people like you who understand you and who see your imperfections as perfect in any way possible.
Yeah.
And of course, the last part would be for them not to underestimate the power of a chosen family. And I say this because of this is what I associate with. I find myself in each year I spend more time with the family I created or chose and the choices I made to commit to them more than I do with even my own, where I was born biologically. You know, because even if the world is against you, your child will always feel the love, or the children we nurture will always love us and will always be our support system at the end of the day. And if this is the family you've chosen to create, do not keep mourning about the past family which you wanted to belong to, because the one you've created is just perfect enough. And it should be enough to get you through, you know, the hard times. And we are coming to our final question for this conversation. Share with our beautiful audience something important about queer parenting you think people should know.
Something important about queer parenting people should know. Because I live in a country where being queer is a taboo. It's considered demonic and it's illegal according to the law. If someone is living in a situation like that and you are a queer parent, you have eyes on you. People are expecting you to fail, you know. Don't give them the satisfaction. That's the one thing that I can say, because they're looking at you like, oh, so you're a queer parent, let's see how your children will turn out. And for me, I make so much noise on my kids' achievement, because I try to say, yes, I'm queer, but look at my child excelling. Yes, I'm queer, but look at my child. My daughter has a boyfriend. This is me saying, you see, I'm queer. Doesn't mean that automatically my child turns out queer. You understand? They have a choice to be who they actually want to be. If they turn out to be queer, that's okay. So what? They're still loved. But if they turn out to be heterosexual, that's all right too. They're still loved, you know. And my sisters were shocked. They were like, "Oh, I met your daughter at the mall. She was with a boy." I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's her boyfriend." Like, to say, you know what? Even though I'm a queer parent, my child is okay, and it's fine for her to have a boyfriend. And she doesn't mean automatically because I'm queer she's gonna have like a woman crush. You get what I mean? Like, she's being raised to be an individual who is going to be successful, who's gonna love, who's gonna choose whom she wants to love. She won't be forced to say, oh, because I'm a queer parent, then you're gonna be a queer person as well. They have a choice to be who they want to be.
True.
I'm raising children who are going to be champions, who are going to excel.
True.
I know I'm going to walk my child down the aisle one day. Doesn't matter who she's marrying, whether it's a man or a woman. But I want them to succeed just like any other parent would want to see their children succeed. So even though we have eyes on us watching with scrutiny to see how our children can turn out, we don't have to give them satisfaction. Let's prove them wrong. And let love lead. That's
beautiful.
What I can say.
Beautiful. So, listeners, you've got that. I will conclude by saying the biggest myth is that queer parents confuse children. It is not true that our biggest job is to confuse children. But in truth, queer parents raise some of the most compassionate children, most open-minded children this world will ever have. That is for sure. The level of life that my kids live and how they express compassion and empathy and how they put themselves in people's shoes is mind-blowing even for me as a parent. So I want people to know that queer parents are not different in the way society assumes us to be. We are just invested, just as protective, and just as hopeful for our children's futures as any parent is. Like, we want them to be successful, we want them to be happy, we want them to be at the top of the world, The only difference is we raise our children in a world that tells us our love is wrong. That is basically the only difference between me and any other parent out there. And so our parenting becomes an act of defiance and deep love, which is not the case for heterosexual couples who are, by virtue of loving each other, it is accepted for them, to be parents. I keep living in fear of whether I still get to enjoy custody of the children if my sexuality is exposed, I don't get to enjoy so many of those things. So I want people out there to just understand we love our parents so much, and the only difference between us and them is that we love differently. And would really appreciate if they accepted us in our imperfections, and for some in our perfections, because we are not imperfect as we are defined. We are branded imperfect, but we are some of the biggest perfect people I want to presume exist, because when I look at my friends, I'm like, wow, this person is brilliant, I couldn't pull this off. And I don't think there is a world where there is everything perfect. There are just so many shades. And so even us as queer parents, we exist in just so many shades as heterosexual parents do exist.
Sure.
Thank you all for listening in. Thank you, Pachuma, for being our guest and for joining me in this beautiful and honest conversation. And to our listeners, queer parenting, whether in Uganda, in Malawi, or anywhere else in the world, is about creating love where the world tries to deny it. Stay tuned for more stories that remind us that love is revolutionary. Remember to like and share. Follow us on our X page at @closeted_Africa, on our RSS podcast, Outcloseted Africa, Queer African Parents Speaking Out, and on our YouTube channel at Outcloseted Africa. Thank you all for listening. Bye. You can say bye to our listeners.
Bye, and thank you for having me.